Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Rangers eliminate the Carolina Hurricanes. They win by a score of 5-3 in what was an insane comeback, and Chris Kreider may have just solidified his number in the rafters, and no one wearing the number 20 again in Ranger history. Just put the team on his back. I mean, Rangers were down 3-1 going to the third. It wasn't looking good. And Chris Kreider scores a natural hat trick in the third period. Only the third Ranger in their history to record a hat trick in one period. And what kind of came to mind first was the first one, which was Mark Messier, 1994, Game 6 against the Devils. Now, look, that was the Eastern Conference Final. They were down 3-2. It is different. I mean, that's almost untouchable. But there are definitely some similarities in it. And the other one was Wayne Gretzky in 1997, first round against the Florida Panthers. That was in the second period. Also very memorable, but different. But Chris Kreider, just unbelievable. I was looking for someone to step up and to kind of put the team on their back, and he was the one that did it. And look, I think a lot of Ranger fans want him to have the captaincy, and look, if we're between him and Trouba, I prefer it to be Kreider. But look, that's not really who Kreider is. He is, I think, in some ways, he is the de facto captain. He is, the elder statesman on the team. He's been, the longest tenured Ranger. But, just what a moment for him. And the way he scored each goal, that's classic Kreider. It's what he does. I mean, it's right near the net. It's deflections, tip-ins on the power play. It was all right there. And this game so felt like the Rangers were going to lose. I mean, how could you not feel that way? And then look, if they lost this game, I still think the Rangers could have very easily won Game 7. But hey, I think the Rangers would have been the 10th team in NHL history to have had a 3-0 lead and for it to have gotten to a Game 7. And that's not history that you really want to be in the same room as. So, I mean, just very exciting, the fact the Rangers were able to pull this off. And really, the two big stars of this game was Kreider, and then Igor Shesterkin deserves a lot of credit as well, where he does give up 3 goals. We'll discuss them. I mean, really, I don't think that really any of them were egregious. I mean, Freddie Anderson was terrible for Carolina. If you're a Hurricanes fan, it's like they just did not get the goaltending at all. It wasn't nearly good enough, and that was a huge difference. But Igor made really, really big saves. When this was 3-1, Hurricanes had a lot of chances left and right, and Igor made big-time stops. The big one that really comes to mind is when the Rangers had a 4-3 lead, and it's 6-on-5 for Carolina. Off the face-off, Will Cooley, which I don't know why he was on the ice, to be honest, at that point, and they took him right off after. He kind of loses Andrei Svechnikov. He's in right all on the slot, and Igor makes the blocker save. So if there's someone else to really talk about here, it's Shesterkin. But, of course, the story is Chris Kreider. Just unbelievable. Carolina really, I felt like losing my voice after this one. So, but yeah, Kreider absolutely really willed this team to victory. And other people deserve credit as well, and we'll discuss that. But Carolina, I felt like, was really starting to hit their stride within the series. They were really playing their game. But the Rangers have had the ability all year long, all season long. This is what they do, third period comeback. So look, some people can say it's lucky, but really it's part of the Rangers formula. When they get going, they're hard to stop. And they can score in bunches. And they're resilient, if nothing else. Hey, look, the Rangers' biggest issue for me is when they have a lead, and I'm talking more along the lines of series, they are unable to kind of put their foot on the gas and end it. They are so much better when their back is up against the wall because, as we've seen, they've been so good in recent history and even before that in elimination games and staving off elimination. And now here, they were close to the point of an elimination game. They're down 3-1, and then they do what they do. So just unbelievable. As far as the Rangers lineup, one change, and it wasn't unexpected. Johnny Brodzinski comes in for Matt Rempe, and that's kind of that home road thing. I think if it was a home game, they would have stuck with Rempe, but on the road it's Brodzinski. We'll see. I would love to see Filip Chytil in round 3, or the Eastern Conference Final, whatever you want to call it. I would love to see Chytil back. It's just, I don't know. It's kind of, you got to be careful because of the concussion history. And, can the Rangers win without him? Yes, but it would make them so much better if Chytil could be in there. Also of note with Kreider, he did not practice yesterday due to maintenance. So clearly he is dealing with something. So that kind of just adds to the story here, is that he's not, and I'm sure most players at this point in the season are not 100% healthy, but he missed practice. And I can't say enough just how big it is to win this in 6. And going back to my prediction, I felt like the Rangers would win this. My prediction was 7, but I said I could see them winning this in 6. And, as tough as it was to lose game 4 and 5, to win it in 6, and as we speak right now, like the Panther-Bruins series is not over yet. So that's another good thing. Would love for the Bruins to at least push that to 7. I definitely think the Panthers will win that series. I'd be surprised if the Bruins came back. But like I said, if the Bruins can at least push the Panthers as far as it can go, that would be helpful. And give the Rangers a little bit more time off as well. Because, look, someone like, for example, Adam Fox, I think he could really use a bit of a rest. Clearly he is not 100%. And others too as well. So, yeah, Rangers Hurricanes, game 6. Carolina crowd, as you'd expect, very much into it. And, look, Carolina played very well for a while. Until it really, really came down to it at the end, they did. And if you're Rod Brind'Amour and company, it's got to be tough. And I don't know what this Hurricane team's going to look like moving forward. Brind'Amour included. And I think it'd be a mistake for them to let him go and for him to walk out the building. I think they should do whatever they can to keep Rod Brind'Amour. What the Hurricanes really need, again, they just need they need more top-end talent. That's where they fall short versus the Rangers. When the Rangers are on their game, they just have more skill than Carolina, and that wins out at the end of the day. One lineup change that was made, which I didn't love, I can understand why it happened, but I didn't love it, was and now I'm looking at the ice time, and it makes fucking sense. So Miller Trouba is back, and Gustafsson Schneider is the third pair. I think in a lot of ways it was done because they didn't, on the road, with the with that match, with the matchups not having it, they were worried about Gustafsson Trouba, which is understandable. But here, looking at the ice time, it's exactly as I frickin' thought it would be. So when it was Miller Schneider and Gustafsson Trouba, the minutes that were allocated was very even. Looking at this, it was heavy. Forgetting about Lindgren Fox, Miller Trouba played way more than Gustafsson Schneider. And look, I guess part of it is Gustafsson. It's been a rough go for Gustafsson, and I would love to somehow get Zach Jones in there, but let's be honest, it's probably not going to happen. Barring, unless it got way worse, I just don't see it happening. But yeah, that's gonna. I still think. Now Trouba being solidified into that top 4 on defense, I think is gonna be problematic. Again, let's keep this more positive. But yeah, didn't love that switch. And again, and looking at the time on ice, that's what kind of has me concerned. And I think they're going to stick with this. I don't think it's just a home. I'd love to be wrong and it be a home road thing, but this was done in a way to limit the ice time. They didn't want to limit Trouba's ice time. They certainly wanted to limit Gustafsson's, and by association, Schneider didn't really play as much either. So it's back to the original pairs. Okay, so let's discuss this one. And as we saw the last couple of games, there were only a few penalties taken, or should I say called, and the power plays were both good on both sides. As Carolina ends up going 1 for 1 on a shortened power play, mind you, and the Rangers 1 for 2 and the one they didn't get was a shortened power play as well. So, again, it was these games were officiated. The last 3 games were officiated much differently than the first 3. But it starts out, I thought the Rangers kind of came out and were okay. I didn't think they were bad, even though the shot count wouldn't reflect that. In the first period, Carolina outshoots the Rangers 8-3. Another note that I want to just say is that the Rangers are the first President's Trophy winning team since the 2015 Rangers to reach the conference final. So that goes to show you that in a little less than 10 years, these President's Trophy teams, not only do they not win the Cup, they don't even reach the conference final, and the Rangers were the last one to do so in 2015. But first period, Rangers only get 3 shots on goal. I don't think that was completely indicative of the first, and maybe I was setting the bar low based on what we saw last game, but I thought the Rangers, it was a decent road first period. Again, I'd like to get a little bit more high-quality danger chances, which did not happen. But the first period ends, and look, I'm probably skipping, some detail that happened within the first 15 minutes, but we're just going to go straight to the goal because there's a lot more to discuss after. And Marty Necas scores his 4th goal of the season, of the playoffs from Martinook and Orlov. And boy, did Jordan Martinook have a really, really good game. Necas at 18:38. So a tough back-breaking sort of goal at the end of the first. And this was a play where it was Lindgren and Fox for the D pair, and both of them kind of struggled, Fox behind the net, Lindgren as well, and I believe the Wenberg line was on for this goal. Now, the Wenberg line I thought was really bad tonight, and I've been defending that line. Not that it needed defense, but they weren't scoring goals, but I felt like the ozone time was good. They weren't allowing goals against. I thought it was a really, really rough night for that Wenberg line, all 3, Cooley, Wenberg, and Kakko. And so I'm kind of open going into the next series, especially, of course, if Hedl comes back. But even if he doesn't, I'm open to kind of switching that up. I don't know what you would do with it. And personally, I wouldn't want Blake Wheeler to come into the lineup. I could see it happening, but that wouldn't be what I'd want. But yeah, I don't have a major problem if they stick with the line, but it really wasn't good at all, and it got worse as the series went along. So Necas makes it 1-0, and nothing Igor could really do about it. It was a very nice pass by Martinook from behind the net to Necas to make it 1-0 Carolina. Then from there is where you get a couple of penalties in the second period. At 2:04, Martinook high sticks Kakko. But a poor Ranger power play that ends 43 seconds into it is Chris Kreider's called for cross-checking Seth Jarvis. And Carolina, on a shortened power play, does score. And this is where Barclay Goodrow is unable. There was a clearing attempt. He was in Kreider's spot, who was in the box. Goodrow unable to clear it eventually. It's a Seth Jarvis power play goal. His 5th of the playoffs from Aho and Svechnikov, and Jarvis just kind of beat Zibanejad in front. The puck was loose. And look, Igor wasn't great to start. I'm not going to go too deeply into – I'm not going to dissect the goals, but Igor, look, clearly, he had 3 goals. I didn't think they were – like I said, I don't think they were egregious, but maybe he would like to have some of them back. But it was loose in front, and Jarvis, like I said, kind of just beat Zibanejad to it, and Carolina has a 2-0 lead. However, a very quick response by the Rangers. Less than a minute after that goal, at 5:29, Vincent Trocheck, who really needed it. Again, his play was kind of taking a bit of a dip, but Trocheck and Panarin got better as the game went on. It's a Trocheck goal, a 6th play assisted by Panarin. This is a play where Freddie Anderson ends up being out of position. It was a bad turnover by, I believe, Dmitry Orlov, who puts the puck on the stick of Panarin. He takes a shot, and it's tipped in by Trocheck. Even if it wasn't tipped in, I feel like it might have gone in anyway. Anderson was just not ready for it. And so it's 2-1, and you're thinking, okay, that's good, quick response. But less than 4 minutes after that, at 9:23, Carolina makes it 3-1. So it's Aho's 4th of the playoffs from Svechnikov and Slavin. And what comes to mind here is this game was very similar to Game 4. In terms of the way it went down score-wise, where it was 2-0 Carolina, then 2-1, then 3-1 Carolina, then 3-2, then 3-3. Where it changes is, of course, Carolina wins it 4-3, and this one 5-3. But weird how that was. This did have feels of Game 4. But Aho with the goal, and this was, again, the Ranger 4th line was on for this one. A bad play by Keandre Miller in the offensive blue line. He wasn't, I think it was Svechnikov who kind of gets it by him, and it becomes kind of a 2-on-1 Aho. Trouba was going against Gensel, and it was Vesey who just couldn't get back in time, and Aho just snaps it by Shesterkin. So not a great job by then. Again, the bottom 6, hopefully will do a little bit better. And I kind of felt like in the Capital series and early in this Hurricane series, I liked what they were providing. Now, not as much. So I'm down to kind of reconfigure those lines a little bit, but I know it's not going to change much, and you may not really have a choice in doing so. You may not be able to. But anyway, Carolina makes it 3-1. So there you go again. Rangers down 2 again. And then at the end of the second period, and even before that, I guess, I should mention Ryan Lindgren ends up on a breakaway, which was kind of crazy. He goes backhand. It goes by Anderson, and an amazing diving stop by Jordan Martinook to stop it from going the puck fully over the line. Just an unbelievable play. And to me, if the Rangers lost the series, you would have been seeing that replay a lot, even though the Rangers were already down 3-1 at that point in the game. But great play by Martinook. Rangers had some breakaway chances, like not sustained pressure, but Carolina towards the end of the period, they had a lot of opportunities, like late in the second, early in the third. I think about like Aho had a rush. Posts were hit. Martinook hit one of them. I'm trying to think, there was a couple others. Jordan Staal. I think this was the third. Yeah, this was the third period. Great save by Igor on Jordan Staal in the third. So, like, this could have easily become 4-1 Carolina. And at that point, I think it would have been really tough to come back from. We go to the third period. Hurricanes up 3-1, looking like they have all the momentum. And what changes everything is at 6:43, Chris Kreider begins his kind of assault of the Hurricanes. 6:43, Kreider, his fifth goal of the playoffs from Zibanejad and Roslovic. Give a lot of credit to Jack Roslovic, who, look, we know he's not the greatest defensive player. He's not the most physical. Like, there is a lot of flaws to his game, but there's a lot of offensive skill. But what Roslovic does is he's able to be physical. I forget who was on him, but he's able to kind of hold on the puck long enough and take the hit long enough for Zibanejad to come into the play. Mika is able to kind of drop it off towards the net. Similar to the Alexis Lafreniere goal. Think about that from Game 4. Different. And Anderson was hugging the crease, but he didn't have control of the puck. And Kreider is able to beat Anderson to it and poke it in backhand. That's a bad goal by Freddie Anderson. He's got to be able to cover that puck. But a good job by that line. Roslovic is the manager, and then Kreider being in there and making it 3-2. Now all of a sudden, we got a whole new game. Whole new game. And then there was a missed delay of game call where Brady Shea, it should have been a delay game. They didn't call it. It's crazy in the NHL. Yeah, that's not reviewable. Apparently, it's reviewable. If it's originally a delay game, then you can review that it isn't, but not vice versa. How does that make much sense? They got to change that. But then soon thereafter, Jordan Staal cross-checks Mika Zibanejad at 10:58. And Brendan Moore was a little upset about it. The way I saw it was, again, they just missed that delay game call. And I thought that Staal, it was a big enough cross-check where, yeah, it makes sense that they're going to call that. And the Rangers power play comes through as it needed to tie it up. Kreider is second of the game, sixth of the playoffs from Panarin and Trocheck. Good passing, Trocheck to Panarin. Panarin takes a wrist shot, and it's the classic Kreider tip. I mean, no one is better at that than Chris Kreider. And we're all tied up at 3. And the Rangers' momentum just keeps on going and going and going. And a really, really good shift leads to the Rangers taking the lead miraculously when all hope was kind of lost. Rangers take a 4-3 lead. Kreider gets the natural hat trick. Third of the game, seventh of the playoffs from Lindgren and Roslovic. And so this was a nice play where Roslovic gets the puck, and he kind of crosses over with Lindgren, and Lindgren wraps around the net. And Ryan Lindgren tonight, who really had a rough couple of first periods. The first two periods I thought were rough for Lindgren, but like offensively, Lindgren gets his first point of the playoffs. And he makes a really nice pass in front to Kreider, who gets positioning on Jalen Chatfield. Kreider would not be denied, and he puts it right in. Great pass by Lindgren. So a couple of assists for Roslovic in the third period who deserves some credit. So, yeah, unbelievable. And kind of in that moment, I kind of did think about, I thought about Messier Game 6 versus the Devils. Just 3 goals in the third period, trailing. And this is the craziest stat. I am kind of surprised by it. This is the first Ranger win on the road in the playoffs when trailing 1 in the third since Game 6, Devils 94. Like, you would have figured at some point within these last, 30 years that just down by 1 on the road. I'm kind of stunned. Unless I have that incorrect, I think that's what it was. So the Rangers make it 4-3, and now it's a matter of Carolina has a 6-on-5 for a while. And like I mentioned before, that great Svechnikov chance that Igor makes a great save on. But a lot of icings by the Rangers. Carolina with some good ozone time, but again, the Rangers were playing it smart. It was taking a while to kind of get going. It was a lot of icings. But eventually, with about 40, 50 seconds left, Barclay Goodrow gets the empty net goal. That was really big because, look, like there was still a lot of time left. You had, this was at 19:11. So it's Goodrow's third goal of the playoffs, assisted by Keandre Miller. So that kind of takes all the stress away. Rangers take a 5-3 lead. They win the game. They win the series. They eliminate the Carolina Hurricanes in 6. Just amazing stuff. This is what this team does. Is it sustainable? I guess we'll find out. But it's a formula that has worked. And Chris Kreider, just what a star performance by him. And what will likely be one of the most memorable moments of his career, which has had a lot of memorable moments, to be fair. So now the Rangers will wait to see what the next opponent is. Will it be the Florida Panthers? I would say most likely it will be, or the Boston Bruins. It would be great for the Bruins to win Game 6 and at least force that to a Game 7. That is the hope that I have. I think the Panthers are definitely the better team over Boston, and I think the Panthers match up better. Like, I think the matchup-wise, I would love the Rangers versus the Bruins. I think that I feel better about Rangers-Bruins than Rangers-Hurricanes. On the flip side, I think the Panthers pose a little bit more of a problem than the Hurricanes, just, in terms of their physicality, their big bodies. Like, the 6 defensemen are huge. They're not as quick. They don't have the speed that Carolina has. I'll say that. And I think the Rangers are very capable of beating the Panthers for many reasons, but I do think that it's a little bit of a notch up. I just think matchup-wise, but let's see. Maybe that somehow won't be the matchup. Would prefer Boston, but sometimes be careful what you wish for. But again, if that series can extend itself to 7, I think that does the Rangers a little bit of good too, to get a little extra rest. So really exciting times for the Rangers. 8 wins. 8 wins down, 8 to go. Chris Kreider have a night. A natural hat trick in the third period to have them going down by 2 to getting the victory, and they knock off Carolina Hurricanes again. 2 out of 3 years, they do it at Carolina again, and so the Rangers have reached the Eastern Conference Final the second time in 3 years, and hopefully this time they can go a little bit further. But a very, very, very resilient victory for these New York Rangers. They beat the Carolina Hurricanes 5-3 to win the series in 6 games.